All right, here we go.
Yeah.
Record has been hit. All right, so for our first session, and this probably won't be edited out, so welcome. This is how we are. Yeah, welcome to this journey called Life Podcast with EI. Whew, listen. I'm trying to figure out which one I want to use, which name I want to use. Listen, okay, so it's EI Shernay Oshuni Sheshe, which is the name that I have decided to stamp. I prefer to be called Shernay if we're not in a spiritual space. If we are, EI Oshun Isheshe or EI for short. That's the long and short of it.
Mm-hmm.
Who we speaking to today?
This is
Who
time.
else are we speaking to?
Look, this is time. We're gonna stick with what's easy. This is Ty, and I am here
Woo!
today. We are sisters, as you will
Mm-hmm.
kind of see the more we go along this journey together. So we will do all we can to stay on task because we also are neurodivergent as well,
Mm-hmm.
which is always fun. We can follow
Yes.
each other. However, we want everyone else to follow us too. So, welcome today. And we look forward to you being with us throughout this journey called life.
Let's see. Let's see. All right, y'all. So this is our first podcast, and we figured we want y'all to get to know us, and we're going to share parts of our story that kind of give you an idea of who we are, what we've been through, experiences that we've learned from, and boom, that's what it is.
Hmm.
So, again, I'm Shernay. I'm the baby sister, as the older sister. And a little bit about our past is that we did not grow up together, but you couldn't tell that talking to us. And well, we didn't grow up together in the physical sense.
Yes.
I'll say that. We met in the spiritual realm when we were very young. She's not that much older than me.
Hmm.
Um, however, she used to come to my rescue. And I'm a survivor of molestation. I'm a survivor of rape. I'm a survivor of repetitive narcissistic relationships where I was the target. And I'm not gonna leave out that I was um, I was a participant in a sense of giving off stuff too. Okay. Um, however, that is not who I am now, and um, the furthest, the most the closest to the first memory that I have that I can recall of being on a spiritual journey or identifying who I am and whatever the case may be is when I was about five, between 5 and 7 years old. And my favorite uncle, Uncle Reggie, passed away. Fell down the stairs in my grandmother's basement. And he came to me. His face was in the pipes. If you look at the basement, if you have an unfinished basement or have ever seen an unfinished basement, you'll see all the pipes and stuff under the house or whatnot. Anywho, his face appeared while we were jumping on the bed, which we knew we were not supposed to do. And you know how you hang upside down off that side of the bed? and you're looking out. Well, that's what
Hmm.
I did. I hung upside down off the bed after jumping, and I looked out and saw his face in these freaking pipes. And baby, when I tell you, scared the shit out of me, because I understand that when you die, I ain't gonna see you no more. That's what I understood at that age. That was I ain't gonna see you no more. Well, no, he decided to come back and give me a message, and it took years before I understood what the hell he was talking about. Okay. So, of course, as a kid, you scared, you run up to your grandma. Grandma said, "What's wrong, baby?" I said, "I seen Uncle Reggie." I'm crying, boo-hooing, I'm freaking crazy. She's like, "Baby, no, you didn't see him." So she told me I didn't. I knew what the hell I saw. I knew what the hell I saw. And nobody was going to get me to believe otherwise. Anyways, so then as I got older, I started having a recurring dream. And I grew up in this neighborhood, and my grandmother was a daycare provider, and I used to walk the kids up to the playground up the street. In the dream, I'm walking up the street. I passed by houses that were a part of my childhood, and then I go and make this right on the street that we used to turn down to get to the playground. In the physical world, there is no tree on the right side of the street. In my dream, there's this huge tree, and I'm staring at it. And every time I try to pass this damn tree, it would grab me. Every single time. And I would wake up scared. Why the hell is this tree grabbing me? I've had it all my life up until um, I became initiated as an E5 priestess. Everything made sense. Everything that was confusing started to make sense. I found out what the message was. My uncle was telling me Ifa. He was telling me to go to Ifa. I was raised Christian. I didn't know what the hell no Ifa was. What's that? Then the tree I understood had to do with my relationship to Iyami Oshuranga. And after initiation, during one of our rituals, I was again introduced to the tree. However, this time I allowed the tree to take me in it and lift me, cleanse me, heal me, and bring me down back to the ground. We'll go deep into that on another day. However, that is my earliest experience that I can recall. Uncle passed, gave me a message, referring to him about this daggone tree all my life. That's my earliest remembrance. What's your earliest remembrance?
Mm, that's a good question. Um, I can tell you what I remember my earliest when it comes to spirit in general had to do with my grandmother. And I will always have dreams that would come true. They always came true no matter what I dreamed. And trying to explain that to someone, isn't very easy. But this one particular day, I love staying with my grandmother. We relocated back to home, let me just say that. And we was there to take care of my grandfather and support him. Long story short, I spent a lot of time with my grandmother. I was like an oddball growing up because we traveled a lot, and so I didn't have a lot of friends, that in that aspect of the word friends. But my grandmother was one of my closest friends. So we talked about everything, and just to be very, very clear, she is indeed a Native woman. the entire bloodline on my maternal grandmother's side, and technically my maternal grandfather. It's a native, whether that is from um, slaves to American indigenous Native Americans, as well as immigrants that came here to America as well. So, with that being said, of course, the land is something that's very important to the heritage that I grew up in. And dreams and visions and signs is something you paid attention to and you listened, no matter who said it, whether they were a child or an adult. So, with my grandmother, I would have dreams and I would wake up explaining them to her. And she was able to decipher what they were. And she told me as a child that I had the gift. So I never forgot that. And she taught me certain things that I never forgot to this day forward. So I was able to trust my dreams and in turn, not recognize that I was trusting myself. So as years went on, anytime there was something going on in my life and I needed to know, what was happening, I would, before I would go to bed at night, I would say, please reveal what I need to know. And every time it would happen. So that's just needless to say, I went through life with a very strong intuition and I trusted that gut feeling. And it has always assisted me in my life path. It doesn't mean that everything was easy because I can tell you right now, nothing was easy growing up. But the one thing that was steadfast was laughter and having a good time and love and support. And so I definitely had that growing up. But like you said, I am indeed a survivor in quite a few different things. So, of course, I too have a background where I've been a survivor of molestation, survivor of rape. And in that process, I would continue to strive and do the best that I can. And I do not feel like a victim in any form or fashion. Um, and so while on this spiritual journey of understanding who I am and loving who I am completely and holistically, I continue to listen to spirit in the entire process to stay strong and steadfast and learn from every lesson that has come my way. So that's a synopsis. Um, But, my dreams have always been real. Every time I have one, it means something. And it's always come true.
Hey.
Oh, Shay.
All right. So that's a little bit about us. We're
Yeah.
not gonna leave it there. We're not gonna leave it there. 'Cause that would be an extremely short episode, and it depends on the mode I'm in. I might not want a teaser, right? So, um, the next thing that I would like to, I guess, address or share would be what, or I suppose the question this way, because if you made it this far, something has grabbed your attention. We would like for um, y'all to respond with questions that you may have that you would like for us to address in a future episode. Um, however, let's make segue into a different topic. So, one of the questions that we wanted to talk about is our upbringing. And the question is, how did your upbringing affect you and help you become the person you are today? Time, my dear. Would you like to go for?
Absolutely. I'll go first. My upbringing, I think, was very interesting when I listened to other people who know my story, and then they, ask questions of me. So, um, my mother is from the Carolinas, and of course, back then in the 40s. Um, sharecropping was the best way, the life. It's the life that you had to live because, of course, being of color, owning things were very few and far between for people of color. So um, she is a daughter of nine, and with parents who did the best that they could with the children that they had, as well as the crops, and whether that is tobacco and peanuts and collard greens and you name it, snap peas, all the things, right? Tomatoes, and then of course having a couple of goats and things like that. And so it's tradition to live off the land, and in addition to picking cotton. So having that as a background means that you use your hands and your wit, and you paid attention to your surroundings, and make the best of life accordingly. So very strong mother, and strong-willed mother, um, and that of course spilled over to her having four daughters, me being the last of those four on my mother's side. So, um, travel was something that we did quite a bit of. So I got that experience very early on because I believe that was just the way of life, right? So for me, it was all normal. Um, so we were all born, all four of us were indeed born from where she came from, but she always relocated back to a different state to raise us. So we were able to get both the city life in addition to the country life. So that was normal for me. But because we traveled a lot, trying to make friends was something that I didn't necessarily focus on. I loved knowledge, so school was something I loved to do. I loved going to school as a child and learning new things and abilities and all that wonderful stuff. And having a mother that was very strong-willed, um, I also learned how to navigate life. I watched the way she moved and navigated, and the way she carried herself, and she was an amazing woman. So, having someone that was strong, amazing, held herself up very high, always made things happen no matter what the situation or circumstance was, and continue to move forward, raising four girls, and respecting our voices. Um, and so that was just the way I grew up. So I think that has helped me as an adult. I know that it helped me as a child. I did, of course, had to learn how to use my voice the older I got. And so sometimes hard situations cause you to do that. And so um, when I guess it clicked mentally for me that the only person I really needed to please was myself, the person in the mirror, that helped me navigate life as an adult more and more. So um, I think that childhood of living from Carolinas, the Virginias, Maryland to Florida, being able to navigate different areas and cities, and be able to thrive in them, and survive in those particular realms helped me tremendously. So as an adult, I love to travel. I love to travel. Okay. I love to travel. Most people run from that kind of stuff, but no, not me. You can throw a dot on the map and I'm cool for that. So No problem to travel solo. No problem to travel in a group. I enjoy different cultures. I love talking to people in different walks of life and being able to find some sort of common ground. And just enjoy life. I enjoy life in every step of the way. So I think that I appreciate that. And me and my mother actually had a conversation about that when I was an adult, and she actually said to me just that. The reason why I did the things that I did and travel the way we travel because I wanted you to be able to navigate life in any situation or circumstance, and she definitely assisted me for sure in doing that. So I thanked her for that. There was once in my life when I looked at her and said, "Well, are we going to stay here so I can make some friends?" And so me asking her that question was indeed how we wound up living in Florida for almost 30 years. But um, one thing about it is my voice was heard, right? As a child, my voice was heard, and I was in elementary at the time. So, if anything, that kind of gives you a little peer into the type of mother that I had growing up. And she did value her children's voice, in his circumstance and situation, and I appreciate that. So there's a lot of things that my mother did. I used and took and learned from as an adult, and there were some things that she did that I won't do. She was a yeller, and then it's just natural for her to raise her voice when she was frustrated, and so I was like, I don't want to do that one because I know how that made me feel, right? Um, any child who gets yelled at, they feel some type of way, and while the message might definitely be valid, the way it was introduced may have not been the best. So, as an adult and as a mother, I did not yell at my kids. And so I think that, whether it's positive or negative isn't the point. The message was very clear. I just navigated it differently than my mother did. That's it. I definitely greatly appreciate everything she's ever have done and continue to do. But it's because of her I am who I am today. Um, and then, of course, I got lucky enough to meet my father. So that's a whole nother conversation that I'm sure we're going to jump into. Because of him is how I got to meet this wonderful person that I'm doing this podcast with. So I will say that, like any typical um, child who grew up in a one family household, one parent household, I was lucky enough to meet my biological father in my early 20s. And it wasn't from a lack of trying to try to meet him earlier, but of course, life life had its own journey, and I'm actually thankful to have met him at the time of my life that I finally did meet him, and it was like we never skipped a beat. So I'm very appreciative, you know, and I know that my life probably would a little different. I probably would have. Probably wouldn't have had my kids so quickly. But I'm actually thankful because my kids are who kept me grounded. And I'm very thankful for that. And I learned a lot um, pre double parent. Let me just say that. And I'm very thankful for the lessons that I've learned and been able to navigate this life that I have today. So there, your turn.
Before we get into me, I have a couple of questions.
Yes, ma'am. Of course.
So, you did mention that, you got, you know, the best of both worlds in regards to having that experience for country living and then also having the city living experience. So, like, what do you think were the lessons that you learned from the country experience in comparison to the city experience?
Good question. Okay. So let's talk about it. In the country, you are truly indeed living off the land. And what I mean by that is um, the seasons, when the seasons change, you change straight down from the way you handle crops, which crops were ready to be harvested. Um, you eat from the land, and is what you use with your hands to grow, um, even down to hunting, deer season, um, each fall, you make your own crackling from pigs. If you did, I was a child, we did all the things, right? So I learned how to clean fish, cook it, get the game, prepare it, what to keep, what to freeze, what to throw out, So on top of that, you understood the difference between your plants and your herbs and your spices and how to harvest those things and um down to families, large family gatherings and true Sunday dinner, right? With your grandma in the center of it all and making those biscuits. Some people used to call them sheephead biscuits and molasses and you name it, collard greens, all the things, right? Macaroni and cheese, all the things, right? So you had that, and you grew up climbing trees and going down the swamp and the four wheelers and the three wheelers and I did all that. I did all that, and I enjoyed every minute of it. I think I had one of the best childhoods ever when it came to that, especially when I had was capable of going to visit my grandparents, and when I went to see them, I stayed with them. I remember my mother was like, "You want to go with me? Nope, I'm good. Want to stay with grandma and granddaddy? This is where I'm good at, right here." So and not only that, but growing up in the country, the same schools were always in place. So like the school that I went to as in elementary, my parents went to as in elementary, and that's huge. That's big, and so everyone knows everybody, and take care of you accordingly. So that was amazing for me. And then of course during the school year, I was in the city. So I had that, walking down the railroad tracks, going across them, going to the school, going down around the corner and Tiny Giants at VA. So, enjoying life and meeting some people and friends. I had this childhood friend growing up in VA. His name was Ken Yachty. I'll never forget it. Nickname Yachty. I got to see him as an adult after I had my firstborn, and we hadn't seen each other probably since we were maybe in the third grade or second grade, and he remembered who I was. And his mother and his sister was my sister's real good friend. They were in high school together, and just never, you never forget that kind of stuff, right? And different people from walks of life, and just so happened that his mother was from South Carolina. How about that? She was Geechee Gullah. So, having these kind of spirit experiences growing up as a kid, some things shape you and they mold you. And so it taught me how to respect people's backgrounds and understand that, people are different and be appreciative of different people walks of life. And so that assisted me and helped me and navigated me throughout my entire journey in this thing called life. So growing up, that background definitely assisted me in navigating different avenues and different life journeys in general, and respecting other people's backgrounds and how they move and navigate and understanding them. So when I was, be able to move between the country and the city life, I was able to understand the different languages and different dialects and different traditions and respect them and understand them and support them at the same time. So and that has really and truly helped me right down to my current life and the best friend I currently have, who is actually from Namibia. So, so I thank my mother for, assisting me with that and not knowing that I was going to definitely benefit from that as an adult. But, here I am. Here I am. So, yeah.
Ah, yes. So listen, I love the story. I love the story so well. And I love just listening to you retell it because you are our family's storyteller. Like you are like our unofficial, official historian, right? And like your when you share different when we have conversations, y'all have to understand that as neurodivergent people, we are all over the place with our stories with when we talk, right? So, what we start talking about doesn't always necessarily be what is covered throughout the entire thing, but we always bring it back because it's all connected. Everything is connected. That's one thing that I've learned about life. Everything is connected.
Absolutely.
There's not a disconnection from anything, any experience, any feeling, any growth, any stagnancy. All of it is very much interconnected. Um, my sister, my dear sister, she's got wisdom, baby, for days, okay, for years, for eons, right? She's just got a ton of wisdom that I very deeply appreciate. And it just comes when I'm not expecting it, but it comes right at the time that it's supposed to come. Now, for me, my upbringing was there was some similarities, but a lot of there was some difference as well. I was raised in the city, but I used to come down in the summertime and spend time with daddy's mama. And that lasted for a while. However, once I hit like the teenage stage, I don't know if I stopped wanting to go down there or um, if there was like something that happened between the parents. I have no clue how that transpired, but it did stop. And like I said, there's everything happens for a reason, so I no longer regret not continuing that summer vacation thing. You know what? Come to think of it, it probably had to do with the fact that I wanted to go to work to make money to get the CDs that I wanted because music was a huge part of my life. Music keeps me grounded, and so and it is very healing for me. So how I grew up, my voice did not matter in any way. If it did, I wasn't aware. It did not matter, but from how I felt, it did not matter. Very early on, my mom had a child um, after me, so we're 5 years apart, and I was taught that she was this precious thing that I couldn't touch. So there was some stuff behind that, and we can dig into that in another episode. However, um, I always felt like my existence was a problem. And I'll come back to that thought. That's how I felt. My existence was a problem. But it did not prevent me from trying to receive, trying to get that love. And I'm not saying that my mom was an absolutely horrible person. There were some great times, they're hard to recall. And so, anyways, my grandmother, my mother's mother, was a daycare provider, and the a lot of my experiences that I can recall that were really good was at her daycare. She did daycare out of her house. Um, and so that's how I gained most of my friends because I was one of those kids where, I was really smart in school. I got really good grades, but the other kids didn't like me because I was so smart. So, um, and then so and because of that, I was also very shy. So like the other kids that were allowed to do things that I couldn't do, like they could go spend a night at their friend's house and have sleepovers and a whole lot of things. I couldn't do that. My sleepover, so to speak, was when we had nap time and daycare with grandma because the stories was on and you gotta go to sleep or lay quietly in your bed until the stories was over. That was about 3 hours. So, but those were my what I would call friends during that time. Most of them were girls. A couple of them were boys, but me and the girls we got along really well most of the time until my little sister came into the room, and then we just was like eyes rolls in the back of the head, because the little sister's always getting in the way because she be telling,
That was me. That was
annoying.
me. I was that girl. I was that little sister.
Now, mind y'all, remember I said we did not grow up
Right.
together. So she's talking about with
Older
her older
sisters.
sisters on her mama's
Hmm.
side. So I just don't want y'all to get that confused because we both hold different positions in the sibling
Drinking. That's right.
line.
Hmm.
But I guess so as far as the city was concerned, I learned that safety was um staying with your staying with certain people in the family. Safety was um if grandma said no, best believe is no when you getting your ass handed to you, right? Was because I will not claim to have not been popped with a slipper or two because I was mischievous, but I was pretty much a good kid until teenage years. And we'll talk about that another time too, as well as you just there was a lot of fear that I learned in the city compared to my country experience. When I would go down to my grandma's house on my daddy's side, on our daddy's side, we didn't really go to different aunties' houses or nothing like that. But that's where I met our older brother, I believe. Yeah, yeah, yeah. First time I met our older brother was at grandma's house, and when she had her grandbabies, she had her grandbabies. We was allowed to play around the house, not so much inside the house, but outside. And in the country, I just remember my feet just always being in the grass and barefoot. Like I was just always barefoot. I love that. And when I think about it now as an adult, man, I was so connected with with nature during that time. Because in the city, it's more concrete. And you got shoes on. And the most you're going to get in the city is maybe trees. Not so much grass, not in my area. Um, but man, country, like just the smell of the fresh air, just the grass between your toes, just the peace. Like I'm not a big bug fan as an adult, but listening to them make their sounds during the day and at night, man, that was just freaking awesome. Oh, and a heads up, y'all, I am very emotional, so I will cry from time to time. Don't mind me. But it's, that experience, that balance, that was like those summers were um like a
Okay.
what's it called? Say
Cleansing.
again.
It's very
Yes,
cleansing.
a cleansing, a
Yep.
reset. Yeah, yeah. Before I went back to the city for 9 freaking months. And I loved it. I really loved it. And I wanted I also loved it because it allowed me time with my dad. I've always known that I had 2 dads because I was blessed with a bonus. And I wanted to see my biological father more, but of course, he was a trucker, so I did get to experience riding on his truck with him. And I remember being bored out of my mind riding in the back of that truck with this country music he used to play. Oh my God, oh, it was something. It was an experience, and I was just like, oh, I just want to go home. But I really didn't want to leave
Hmm.
him. I just wanted him to come home with me. Because I didn't want to be with mommy by myself. When he would come around, she seemed like happy, and I liked that version of
Hmm.
her. Until she met my bonus dad. She met my bonus dad when I was 3. Now, mind you, I didn't get on a truck with my biological dad until maybe eight, 9-ish. But I met my bonus dad when I was 3. He was a country boy too. He was from North Carolina, just like dad, and but he was raised in a city, but he knew, like he was in touch with his roots, and he loved me as if I came from him. And he was the reason why I didn't feel like I was missing anything from the father figure. Um, and I'm just super thankful for him. However, I didn't like my little sister. But I didn't like my little sister because of my mom. And so that, after I became an adult, I understood where that came from. But just having that country in the house, like daddy, I'm sorry, let me distinguish the two for y'all. Daddy for me was my bonus dad. Dad for me was my biological dad. So daddy is the one that did the baking. He took after his mom, and he instilled things in me. He instilled things in me to look forward to if I decided to be married to a man. Um, to just look out for as far as the support, the support system in the household when I got older. Did I have that in my first marriage? No, I did not. However, it was that example of what I should not have accepted, but I did accept because, I allowed my ego to lead with that situation because, there were signs. But anyways, um, He was my peace in the household when things became very chaotic as a child and growing up. Um, and um, I miss him, but he is definitely one of my um, a part of my spiritual team, and he shows me himself through the eyes of my wife. So I know he's still present. But do I miss country life? Do I enjoy the city? It has its limits. Am I grateful for my experience for both? Absolutely. Um, how has it, what was the question? How did it help me become the person I am today? It taught me, it taught me how to answer the question that my sister, my dear sister, asked me several times throughout my life. When did I stop trusting myself? Whew. I am now the strongest version of myself ever. I am now at peace because the experiences that I've had in my life from childhood on up um, taught me how to speak up for myself, taught me how to say no without over explanation. It taught me how to put my needs before others. It taught me how to not be a people pleaser because man was I. Ooh boy. I wanted to keep the peace. I just wanted to keep the peace. But keeping the peace for others to not attack me is a part of survival mode and it's not genuine. So um it made me very strong. It did. My mind is moving into other things and I'm trying to stay focused, y'all. Bear with me. Trying to stay focused. But yeah, it's I am I've always led with love and I'm still a very loving person, but I'm a loving person with boundaries that still come from a place of love. If I need to say no, I no longer over explain. It is what it is. I don't feel bad about it anymore. Um I now identify cycles that kept me in a little box back in the day. Um, and I can now appreciate the experiences more that I had in the past that made me who I am today. Um, Someone on the outside that hasn't lived or walked in my shoes would probably describe me as uncaring or nonchalant. And until you understand my full story, that ain't it. It surely isn't. But y'all get to know me over time and be able to understand. why I am the way I am. I'm very happy with the person that I am today, and I'm looking forward to meeting the person that I am becoming. Um, I don't regret anything I've been through, even the bad stuff. None of it. Do you have any questions that came to mind for you?
No, ma'am, I do not. You've touched on quite a few things there. Our upbringing has definitely helped us become the women we are today. And of course, it didn't just jump from A to Z. There was definitely additional stories in between, right, to get us there. A lot of um, self love had to take place, right? A lot of healing, a lot of
Hmm.
forgiveness, a lot of support, and including some level of therapy. So then we have been able to identify how some of the things that we've gone through, not only were they emotional, but they were also physical manifestation of the pain that we've gone through as well. So I think understanding our stories definitely will help you understand how we navigate and communicate and the differences and the actual the things that are the same. So, life is can be fickle, but life can also be fun. And I think and I believe for sure that we're in this point in our life where we've transitioned from survival mode to actually living life and enjoying it. And when you recognize the understanding of how to enjoy it, actually sometimes causes you not to want to be so present on social sites or
Mm.
necessarily a lot of social settings. You really just want to enjoy the people that you care and love and support, and you spend time there. So, um, our life has been very interesting, to say the least. But one thing we never lacked, and that was love. So, um, as we continue to share our stories, we look forward to hearing some questions from you, the audience, and some of the things that you may want to know, what topics you want to discuss, what things that you want to share.
Hmm.
We're definitely here to talk about it.
For sure, for sure. So that is our first episode. I enjoyed it. It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. I'm not bad, but I'm still shy sometimes. And I know other people are going to hear this, so
Hmm.
we're getting out of our own
Yes,
way.
yes,
Um, but yeah, I feel good about this. I'm excited for what's coming.
same.
How about you?
Absolutely. I look forward to it.
Guys, you guys, leave comments, leave questions. Let us know what you think. Like, subscribe, turn your notifications on for um when we post a new episode. Again, we're neurodivergent, so we ain't sticking to no strict schedule. Not how we create. We don't like jobs, you guys, but we do want to share with you. So, um, turn your notifications on so you can be alerted when we record another episode for you guys. All right. So we'll see you in the next one. Peace.